What's going on, beautiful people? Behind me is the amazing 8-foot Amazonia aquarium. It's complete. In this video, I'm going to stitch together everything that got us to this point now so you guys will know exactly how to do it. And then at the end of the video will be some brand new footage of exactly how it's looking in its final form. Hopefully for those of you who hadn't seen this, you enjoy this one. It gives you some inspiration. Let's get started on the build. This here is my first ever 8-foot tank, like my own personal one. I've scaped one before, but this is the first one that was in my own studio. It's been 6 months. I've learned a ton. But it's time to switch it up a bit. Now, when I say I learned a lot from the tank, that is because I was quite apprehensive about having it to begin with. So much bigger than anything I was used to, and I just wondered if the methods that I used on smaller scale would work on this larger scale. But it turns out there was no reason for me to be fearful because it's worked an absolute treat, and it's given me so much confidence now to start the next project. All I have to do is stick to the methods that I know work, methods that I'll show you throughout this series, and I know the new tank will be looking probably better, if I'm honest, than this, the original 8-foot Utopia. So I'm guessing you've read the title by now, and it's gonna be Amazonia. I think that's quite a cool name, rather than Amazon tank. Amazonia, it just feels like it's its own entity. Now, I absolutely love all of my fish that I've got in here. I've had a lot of them since they were babies and they're growing up nice and big. And they suit Amazon, style fish keeping. We've got angelfish, we've got keyhole cichlids, tetra that are from the Amazon. So yeah, I don't want to change the fish. I'm really happy with them, but I do want to change the whole style of the tank. Now, the style that we've got here is much more of like a traditional nature scape on a large scale. That's what got me into the fish keeping hobby anyway, so that's the first thing I wanted to do in this tank, and it worked really well. I'm just ready for a change. When I first started the hobby, I was all about creating environments and then putting the fish in to sort of accentuate what had been created. Accentuate? Is that? Yeah, we'll go with that. But as time's gone on, I've been much more interested in fish behavior and being able to see fish in their sort of natural environment and trying to make that environment as awesome as I can so that it looks good, but it's also great for the fish. Now, don't get me wrong, this tank does look good and is good for the fish, but it's not really something you'll see in the wild. But what I've got planned next should be. I've been doing my research, I've been looking up loads and loads of underwater footage. Now, a lot of Amazon rivers are quite algified, if that's a word. We're gonna go for that, but without the algae. But if there is a little bit dotted around, it is not the end of the world. I'm not gonna worry about it at all. But it shouldn't really happen, to be honest. There's no algae in this tank at all. Now, when I say no algae, I'm always talking about really horrible visual thread algae. There's always in every aquarium background levels of algae. So look at this rock. You can see there's like a green spot on that algae on there, which is good because our plecos, bristlenose, can go around getting a food source. But what we don't want to see is streams of string algae just going absolutely nuts. If you've got that going on, it's probably too much lighting or there's too much nutrients or probably a combination of the two. And that's something that should be addressed in the aquarium. There's an imbalance somewhere. And usually it's trial and error to be able to get rid of it. But we have got a lot of fish in this tank. So what are we going to do with them all? Well, I've currently got a lot of tanks free and available on the fish wall behind me, and they'll be absolutely fine for all the small tetras and things like that. There's plenty of room for them in there. But the angels are a lot bigger, and I don't think I want to be putting them in a little 45cm tank. So yeah, all the tetras, I've got an empty one there. I've got 4 empty ones at the back, a couple at the bottom. So we're sorted for the tetra. And this tank here, next to Timmy, say hello, Timmy. You've been fed, so don't be greedy. Yeah, this tank here has currently got my red devil angelfish and an absolute ton of cardinals. The cardinals will be coming out to go on another scape, which means that I can put the other angels in with these ones, and I'm probably gonna put them all back together again after the build is complete. Now, this is good. It means all the fish are sorted. There's no need to rush it. I can really take my time with it. I don't have to put them in the same day, the next day. I can wait till the tank is right to actually put the fish back in, get all the plants grown in a little bit as well so they don't get disturbed in the substrate. But it is gonna take a while to break this all down, and I'm gonna need to start by removing the plants. Now, a lot of the stems, I've got duplicates of them in tons of other aquariums, and the next tank that we're putting in, the Amazonia one, it's not going to be stem-based. There will be some, don't get me wrong, but nothing like the amount that we have now and have had in this tank. Things like Anubias, and we've got some beautiful crypts here as well. Definitely want to reuse those. I mean, they're not native to the Amazon, but I'm not going for a complete biotope where every fish and every single plant and the wood and the gravel and everything has to be from the Amazon itself. That is what's known as a biotope, when you try and make everything exactly as it is. It can be quite limiting, especially in like the number of plants and things like that. So we're going for it in the style of an Amazon river, rather than it being an exact replica. It's a fish tank in England. I mean, now I don't want you to think that doing something like this and breaking down a tank I've had for 6 months is easy. As I'm doing it, I'm thinking, why are you doing this? But the other side of me knows that the new one will be even better. I like to come up with fresh things, and that's exactly what we're doing. Okay, that is half of the plants out. And I've got quite a good little system going on down here. So we've got one bucket just for stuff that's like degraded and not good, not reusable. Well, it would be, but I wouldn't want to use it again because it's all sort of scraggly. We've got really good plants in this one, stems, crypts, all that sort of thing. And this one is what's holding all of the epiphytes. I'll go through them. I'll take out any of the sort of rough looking leaves, and then you're left with like really mature, good plants. So now it's time to clear out the other side. That water has cleared so fast. I just had some lunch and we're already clear. We'll get to the filters and everything that's doing that in a little while, but for the minute, it's not actually important, is it? I just need to clear this side. Look at that, it's like night and day. Right, we have got a ton of reusable plants there. Not too many thrown out actually, and they would have recovered if replanted, that sort of thing, but they're just a little bit scraggly. So I've got all of these down here. There's way more than it actually looks. This goes like 3 layers deep as well, different crypts. We've got an Echinodorus. We've got loads of stems as well, if I want to use them. I mean, we can use a few stems. I just don't want it stem heavy like it was before. Lots of crud and that floating around the water. I think I'm going to try and get the wood out. It's going to be a right pain, but then it means that the top part of the water is completely clear and I can just get in and just like net everything out. Oh, this is an interesting piece of wood. It's completely hollow in the middle, so I need to be careful there's no bristlenose in there, because that's exactly the type of place they'd like to breed in. I am making so much mess on the floor. There's just water everywhere. Oh, this is much heavier than when I put it in because it's obviously fully waterlogged. Oh, right. Very awkward as well. I'm gonna put it on the floor, check for any bristle noses. Bristle noses? Is that the plural? I think, get the light on, I think we're fine. What I like to do in this instance when I take out wood like this, I'll just leave it here for a bit, and if they do want to get out, you'll see them sort of come out pretty quickly as they look for a water source. So keep an eye on that. Oh, I filled this piece full of rocks to sort of weigh it down at the start, and I don't want them to fall out on the glass. I think they're lodged in. Soon find out. Yeah, they seem pretty good. Oh, there we go, fish coming out, shrimp coming out. Look at that, look, we've got a marnose on the floor and we've got bristlenose. Let me pick them up. Oh, there we go, had to be quick. Those are all the rocks that are in there, and it was like it became this perfect little refuge for the shrimp. And I think I got out 1 bristlenose and I think about 5 or 6 Amano shrimp. Now, I didn't know what to do with them, so I put them in the new self-sustaining ecosystem. Well, I say new, it's getting on for a month old now, but yeah, I put them in there just to add to that. Brings that total up to about 10 Amano shrimp, which is probably perfect for this sort of size tank. This is all doing great, by the way. This video's coming out. You'll see more of this as we go. Because even though this tank is a series, this is also an ongoing series, so just think of them as like separate entities. Do you know what is so weird? Stood here, looking at the tank without everything in it. It's quite cool though, being able to see all the fish in this way. And I have noticed that we've lost some fish and we've gained some fish. For instance, there is a flaggercara and there's a much, much smaller one right above it, which is obviously its baby. Now I did put in a good 6 or 7 flaggercara. I'm only seeing 3 or 4 adults now, but there's lots of babies as well. Well, they're not babies anymore, look at them, they're juveniles. So I suppose that is quite representative of an ecosystem that, you know, would be on a larger scale, of course. But it's nice to know that babies are being born. Take, for instance, at the back there, we've got all those cories. This is very difficult, guys. That one right in the center, look, is much smaller than the rest, so that must have been born in here because I put them in a long time ago and they were all adults. And the size of the keyholes now as well, they're so much bigger than when I first got them. They were like, I'd say 1/3 of the size now looking so good. They're such a really nice, peaceful fish. And they seem to get along so well with the angels. There's never any squabbling between them. I don't think they consider each other a threat, more of just like, not a symbiotic relationship because they don't benefit from each other, but they do get along really well. The thing with keyhole cichlids, they're not massively flashy, but they're just such a nice fish. I definitely recommend keyholes for anyone who would be interested. And there's a better shot of that young flaggercara there. Awesome. Right, I now need to drain this thing down, get out the rest of the hardscape, and then I can catch the fish. It's gonna be way too difficult right now because they just all swim out the way. So we need to bring that water level down to about there. I can get in there then, remove everything apart from the sand, and then it should be easy to scoop them all. So how do we drain this much water without like sucking up all the fish? So I've got my big hose going in and I'm just gonna siphon it out the door, but it's got a big end on it and it creates quite a lot of suction. So I need to cover that up with a net. She is here, no, she's not here. So I'll loop the net over the end and then just use the clamp to hold it to the piece. And then in a bit, when I need to go deeper, I can just put the whole thing in. So that took way longer than I expected, but you know, we're there now. And you can see that I've got the water height so that when I put my net in, I can cover the whole sort of cross section of the water, but everything will get caught up in the net at the moment. So now I've just got to take everything out. Completely forgot to get a new ladder as well for this project. So I have to keep avoiding this, else there will be serious injury. Oh, that's everything taken out. We've got a lot of stuff to be able to put back in as well. Because I'm pretty sure I want to use all the same hardscape. Must remember to take that label off this time. Yeah, I'm going to use all the same hardscape, but I'm going to add to it as well. I want a lot more stoniness to this one. But now everything's clear in the foreground and we can just scoop the fish out. I've got a tub here, I filled that up with the water that came out of the tank. It's easy to separate them out after they're in there into their individual tanks. Right, that went pretty quick and worked well, so minimizing any discomfort. All the fish are in. It's a case of scooping them out of here and separating them. Not into like individual species or anything, just size. I mean, the angels can go in a bigger tank, the rest can go in the 45cm fish wall, and they'll be fine there for the time being. Right, all the fish have been transferred in here. We've got all of the angels. Look at the size difference. Absolute beast. And we've also got the flaggercara and keyhole cichlids. Keyhole cichlids are now very shy. They went and hid straight away, but they're absolutely fine. It all went quickly and smoothly, so that's all good. We've got tetra and different bristle nose in there, and amano shrimp, same in this one, and then the same in this one as well. So there's not much of a bioload in each one. It's spread around, it should be absolutely fine. Obviously these tanks all don't look nice, but that's not the point of them. A little bit of algae is good. It keeps it all cycled and, you know, consuming nitrite, ammonia, that kind of thing. So I don't really tend to clean these, unless it's really bad, but you know, they're pretty good to be fair. So it's now the next day and all the fish have settled in great. I've been around and checked all the tanks, everyone's healthy and doing well. The angels are nice and comfortable, and as you can see at the back, the flaggercara and the keyhole cichlids, well, you can't see now because this guy wants the limelight. But yeah, in the background there are the keyholes and a few flaggercara. So everything is good. There's no need to rush the project and we can take our time and get it perfect. The only thing still left in the tank is a large group of amano shrimp. They're a little bit too hard to catch with the fish and I ran out of time yesterday. So the way to get those out is to drain the tank right down and they'll all come right to the foreground. There we go, so there's still 6 amanos in there. Look, 3 females, 3 males. So you can tell the size difference between the males and the females. Females are carrying an absolute ton of eggs, but they will hatch, but they'll die very, very quickly because they need like a perfect amount of brackish water that you then have to sort of change as time goes by. Apparently it's a very, very difficult process to breed them in captivity. So yeah, I won't be attempting that. And there was also 1 more Cory and 1 more bristle nose in there, which I caught out and put over in the fish wall. But it's always the way with these tanks, like you drain them down, you think you've got everything. I guarantee there's still 1 more of something in there. And there was. My wife just stopped by and straight away said, there's a Cory in the front. Did you know that?
He's gone over on the fishbowl. And we have got some fantastic news. The plants have arrived. Now we're obviously nowhere near planting at this stage, but you know, we've got to get them out, get them in their storage tanks. What have we got? Oh. And there we have it. Oh, they look so sumptuous, don't they? So for like finer detail, I've gone for Liliopsis novae zealandia, which is so similar to Brasiliensis that, you know, it's the perfect sort of substitute, if you like. I've gone for Eleocharis achellaris, which gives us a grassy effect. And then Halanthyon tenellum, to sort of creep everywhere as well, and Halanthyon bolivium as well. So we've got all those different textures, they'll all merge in together, which will look really cool and authentic. We've got a ton of different Echinodorus. We've got smaller ones like Echinodorus red pearl, which, you know, will just give us some red tones down lower as well, because they stay quite small. Then we've got taller ones like your traditional Amazon plant, which is Blari, I think it's pronounced like that, Blari. So tall, sort of thinner leaves. Again, they won't look like this within a couple of months. They'll look completely different. But yeah, got to get these all stored now. And I've got other plants we'll use all down in these storage tanks as well. We've got Alternanthras, we've got Ludwigias as well, which is native. So I think I'll definitely go for a few of the Ludwigias as well. And as you can see, all of the plants are from Aquafleur. That's all I ever used, guys. So good quality. I've been ordering from them for several years now. And absolutely perfect. I mean, look at this. Look at the density of that pot. You can't go wrong, can you? Yeah, look out for Aquafleur plants at your shops. They don't. It's not sponsored or anything, but if they don't have them, just ask them to get them. And storing them, guys, is very easy. What I do is just put them in the tank like that. I'll now fill the water level up to halfway up the basket, and then I'll just wrap some cling film over the top, and that should lock in the moisture. They'll actually continue to grow like that as well and get much bigger. If I was going to be having them in here for like long term, like a month or so, I'd space them out a lot more, but it's only going to be, I don't know, like a week or so. So yeah, I'm fine with them quite dense in there at the moment. And there we have it. Like, if I spaced them out a little bit more, they could be there indefinitely and just keep on growing. Because the rock wool is full of nutrients from when they've been grown in vats. Like, I've had them for months and months before, to the point where all Echinodorus are just growing right out the top as well. And in the last video I did, which was an update on this tank here, the self-sustaining aquarium, I asked you guys about some options of how to scape the tank, and yeah, we've got some answers. Now, the majority of people were saying that we should do one island at the side, branching out into negative space at the end. So that was my first initial thought, what I wanted to do. Quite a lot of people as well were saying the dual islands with the gap in the middle. And then one person, I can't even see where the comment was, but one person said, if you have like one island one side and open space the other, a lot of them are just going to congregate over this side, which makes sense. So how about we do like a happy medium, main structure, main sort of planting all over this side, feathering down as we go here, and then a smaller island just over this side, just as an area of refuge, so it makes sense for the fish to want to go across there. But this being the main piece, and then like an outcrop, I think that will look really, really good. Ow! Stone just fell on my ankle. And I was going to be taking out all of this substrate system and redoing it, but there's literally no point in that. There is so much more nutrients left in there, ready for new growth. We can also top it up with root tabs. And I actually love how sort of authentic it looks. Now the layers have started to merge and things. It's the sort of thing that you'd see when you look at underwater footage of the tank. So yeah, I'm not going to change it out. What I'll do, next episode, we are going to be doing the full scape on the whole tank. Now, as said previously, I've decided not to redo the substrate system. So for those of you who haven't seen, this is how it was created. The job started with leak testing my brand new aquarium. All was good. So I then moved into building some height. Now I opted for 3 mounds of soil, sand and gravel mixed together. It was like a 1-to-1 ratio mix. Just some old substrate that I kept from previous builds. I then capped over the top of that with NutriBase, which will provide the main nutrient source for all the plants. I was unsure sure where the planting would be in this aquarium, so I just put it absolutely everywhere. And then to make sure that all of those nutrients are locked down, I capped everything with pool filter sand. It's nice and cheap. I needed a big bulk of it, and it seemed like the best option and gave the best color for what I wanted to simulate the river basin. Right, before I do anything, I definitely need to give all of this glass a clean. Just with a scrubber, like a non-stick pan scrubber, doesn't scratch the glass, bit of water, sorted. Okay, so that's looking miles better, but there's something I want to do to the lighting. So at the moment, we've got sort of flat lights. We've got the superfish lights, which need a bit of a wipe, but yeah, they're quite flat and they flood everywhere. Now, don't get me wrong, they grow plants brilliantly, but the look I want to go for is a bit different in this tank. So the look we're going for is a river look, and if you use spotlights like the ones you can see on here, we get that shimmering effect. Of course, you do need surface agitation to create it, but when you do, that's what it looks like under the water in rivers, with the sunlight beaming down, just flickering everywhere, and it looks so good. It's my favorite kind of look for any aquarium, to be honest. I've got it on the self-sustaining tank, and I've also got it on this one here as well. But as you can see, there's no water surface movement, so you barely get any of that sort of ripple. So if you want it, you've got to create the surface agitation, which we will. Now I've prepared nicely, and we've got 4 lights to go on the top. I've gone for the Asta 120. I'll leave a link for these if you guys are interested. You get them in the States as well, and they are like so good value for money. Over here in the UK, it's £100 each. So there's 400 quid's worth of lights there. Don't get me wrong, that's a decent amount of money, but lighting can be what makes or break your project. Nicely packaged. I mean, that's the light unit itself. Let me get it out and get them all ready. Oh, that was some intense lighting prep. All 4 done. I do not know if I'm going to need 4, to be honest, but I've got them now, so they're going on, at least to start with. Quite a bit of mess. I'll sort that all out. I've got recycling bins and everything, which I pay for right there. Anyway, let's get the lights swapped out. It's not going to make much of a difference visually now, but it will do, you know, when the water's there. Oh, that looks really cool. But I don't know if you can tell, but there's 2 areas where the light is blocked from the bracing of the lid. Now, a way around that is remove the lid, but I like the lid. I just think it frames everything really well. And the other way of doing it would be just use 3 lights instead of the 4. There's something about having those 4 up there like that. Maybe it's because I'm not used to seeing it, but it looks really cool. Yeah, if I take you up, ugh. So yeah, like you can see here, these 2 are almost directly above the bracing. So I could just put 1 there, 1 there, and 1 there, and that would solve it. Oh, the electrics aren't staying like that. It'd be slightly dangerous. I'm just trying to get it all sorted first. Then I can run it all sort of properly behind. But yeah, should I try it with 3 in the gap and see if it makes a difference? It's not a big problem. I can either send 1 back, which I won't, because I'll just keep it for another project. There we go, there it is with 3, and to be honest, it's about the same light coming in. I can't really see a difference visually. Hang on, just shut these curtains. Just hide those reflections. Yeah, can't visually tell a difference because, you know, a good half of the lights were being blocked off by the bracing. And now, there we go, right in the middle of that one, right in the middle of that one, and right in the middle of that one. Right, I need to sort out the electrics, and then I can get started on the hardscape, finally. So this is the area here that I want to build up to be more of a mound, about level where the intake is, because I don't want to cut anything, and that's enough of a rise once we've got all the hardscape on as well. And to do that, I'm going to use a combination of gravels and sands. I just nearly fell over. So you can see in there we've got a gravel, got a different one in there. This is the same sand that's in the tank. And then we've got some for more detail as well, and some finer ones, some different ones. Just combine it all inside the tub, wash it off, and then put it in. We'll go for a bit of that, bit of that, bit of that. It's like making a little concoction. Bit of that, nah, all of that. Chuck in the sand as well. Bit more gravel. That just went all over the floor. There's no specific ratio to this. I'm just chucking stuff in. And a bit of this as well. And then fill it up with water, wash it, rinse it a few times, pour it out, repeat, and then stick it in. And you'll probably need to clean this 3 or 4 times. depending on what sort of gravel and sand you use. To be honest, this stuff doesn't seem too bad. Drain it off slowly and it should, all the coarse stuff will stay. There we go, yeah, 3 times I reckon, and we'll be nice and clear. So now it's just a case of loading it into where we want it. There's some gunk underneath it, but that's all nutrients for the roots. So that's created an even better illusion now that, you know, we're higher at this side. It means the wood will also sit higher as well as we tape it down. You know, I don't want to go too silly with it. Don't need to add any nutrients because there's only like a couple of inches added on top and there'll still be nutrients in the soil, but I will add root tabs later on. Not yet though, because I don't know where the plants are actually going to be. And it has now been a fair few days since I first put the fish in their own separate tanks. And you can see, look, they're completely comfortable. All the keyholes, all at the front. The angels seem to get along really well. I was a little bit worried and I have been keeping an eye because some of those angels are a lot smaller than the ones that were in the Amazon tank before. But there's been absolutely no aggression, which is great because they're all going to be going in the new tank. All of the tetra as well, look, doing absolutely fine in these tanks, which is no surprise because they're well established. They've been running a long time. Oh, that filter's come unstuck at the back, but still doing its job. And yeah, over here, look as well, all the cories, all at the front, looking good. Should probably give this tank, this the only one that's got like green spot algae on the front of the glass. I need to give that a scrape because it's spoiling it. This one's got a dodgy tail, I've noticed as well, but that's the only sort of issue I've seen on all of the fish. But it seems to be doing okay. I mean, I probably won't put it back in the tank and just keep it in here, keep an eye on it. Could be some sort of infection, or it could be like a neon tetra disease, but then if that was the case, I'd expect to see it on the others as well, which I'm not, so hopefully I'll be able to get that one to heal. But next up, we're on to the fun part, and that is deciding where to put all of our wood. I've got more if we need it, and it can be added at any time. So as always, we want our biggest bit of wood in first. Well, this isn't the biggest, but it's the longest sort of going horizontally, potentially. Just gonna stick it in kind of randomly, because I haven't got a rock to place it on yet, but so I'm gonna have to lay it down initially. That might be the way to do it, I don't know. I mean, that does look really cool, but I think we want a bit of angle on it, and then it can taper off a few pieces this way as well. I do like that though. I think it'll be, it looks like a triceratops head, doesn't it? Like a fossilized triceratops. But look, I can see that there's a potential for a good gap underneath, and I'm thinking of like fish refuge, breeding areas, that sort of thing. So if I put a rock underneath there, we'll get that elevation we want, and that should look pretty cool. And at this early stage of the Hardscape development, it's more about just getting stuff in than like trying to finalize the design, because it's very hard to picture when there's nothing actually in there. Yeah, lots of people, lots of people do designs, but I'm not that kind of guy. I like to just do it as we go, because each piece of wood is a little bit different. You might require something else to go with it. How's that looking? Yeah, that's cool, that's more like it. This needs to go backwards a little bit though, because it's right in the foreground, which is cool, but it does limit planting in the foreground as well, because it's quite shaded underneath it, and there's tons of room behind it currently. Like, look at that lot. We don't need that much space behind it. That's more like it, look, loads of space now. And this is gonna set the stage now for the rest to build off of. That's why I like to start with one of the biggest pieces first, and now I can sort of go off that way if I want, create like a sort of 3D explosion kind of thing, and then taper it down and out. And remember, we want another island there, but nothing like as big as this. This is the main one. Oh, I thought I'd just try that thinner piece there. I think that works so well. The whole thing, all of that is tying in really nicely. There's something just chucked in at the bank, like to the side of the river. The thing is, not gonna be much negative space now, so I need to shift everything up a bit, and then that'll create that point a little bit more just off center rather than right over. And then I think we start on the other side, but yeah, that looks so cool, didn't it? Trying to picture something that's just fallen in and got clogged up in the river. Oh, I love doing this bit. Yep, done. I'm loving that. I'm not touching it anymore. So we've got our big negative space. The plants in this area will be more lower down as well. But I've left some odd gaps. You might be looking for, you know, like what's this big gap? It doesn't sort of like tie in that well. That's deliberate. Remember, we've got big plants going in. So like I've not pushed the rock up to the wood for deliberate reason of planting all the way around the edge of it. We've got a lot of sort of creeping plants and stuff like that, which will fill in the gaps and should look awesome. But we can keep that sort of sandier look as we get into this area. And then plants again this side, but not so tall. I think that's going to work really well. And yes, we have got a stick going into the negative space area, but it's just going to add a bit more interest, make the fish feel a little bit more comfortable as well. I'm trying to think of how the fish are going to behave. And looking at that so far, I think they're going to behave really well. Can't wait to get this thing planted. Now, as we have seen from the underwater footage, there is tons of sticks and detail all on the bottom. It's another reason why I wanted to leave the substrate in, because I love sort of how naturally everything has fallen, and it does look like what you'd see underwater, doesn't it? Like clean areas and then dirtier patches as well. Oh, tripping up. I still haven't cleaned anything up. I'm too engrossed in what we're doing. I'll clean it all up in a minute. But yeah, I've still got all of the little sticks that I've taken out from the last one. I literally just want to chuck them in places and just see where they land. They will float though, because they have dried out, but hopefully they won't float too long. So for instance, like in this area, I can just chuck some pieces down. Like I say, try not to overthink it. I can try and sort of lodge it a bit though. Hopefully the sand and gravel and that will pin it down a little bit better. Yeah, it just brings everything into that foreground a little bit more. Again, the plants are going to be planted all around it, but it should like sort of creep through it. Look like it's naturally fallen there. It's looking so good. I'm so excited to be able to get the fish in already. I'm like already thinking way ahead for the fish part. And we want some over this side too, of course. Something like that. Trying to get it to look like it's creeping over the rocks, because from what I could see, that happens quite a bit. Makes sense, doesn't it? Like getting lodged in those areas. Yeah, I like that. It looks less uniform, whereas sort of this side, I've done it in like a very aquascapey way without even thinking. So I have to try and refrain from that. See how I've gone with the flow of the tank, which you do want to do a little bit, to be fair, but it's very much in those lines. I'm just going to chuck some on top as well. And it might be the case that I need to sort of go in and like replace these after the water's in, because they might just try and go everywhere, but I'm trying to sort of cram them in to little gaps, which is quite realistic, I guess. Oh, that already looks so much better. Now, I don't think the bigger wood is going to float. If you can just about see inside there, it's still quite moist inside, and there's so many holes that air won't be able to get sort of trapped. I'm hoping it will stay put, but just in case, I'm going to have to glue some of it to some rocks. Well, either that or I'll just fill it up really slowly. But I do still have some bigger rocks, and I've got some more outside as well. Because in this tank, I don't really want to place rocks right up to the wood, you know, because it's going to take up planting room. And I'm hoping it just stays put. Sometimes hopes and dreams are not good enough though. So I guess we'll have to see. If when I'm raising the water up after I've planted and I notice some movement, what I'll be able to do is just place some rocks on top temporarily, because I'm pretty sure that overnight it will be waterlogged enough that it won't start to rise. And that is a risk, but it's a bit of a calculated one. If this was new wood, I would absolutely glue it to rocks, but because I've used it all for a long period of time, hopefully it doesn't move. Oh, tension. I will be nervous when filling it up. But yeah, like I say, I'll just bring it up slowly. If I start to see any movement at all, I'll just get some rocks on there, cram it in some places. Probably look quite ugly to start with, but like I say, within like a day or two, I'll be able to take those rocks off. And that's the beauty of creating a tank in a series like I'm doing with this one. I don't have to rush it for reasons like that, because usually when I present a tank at the end of a build video when it's all in one, obviously I can't have waited days and days for wood to go down, so I would have had to have glued it, which isn't a big problem in most cases, like in a smaller scape, not an issue at all. But you know, with this one, I like how they are. I don't want to start sticking rocks where they wouldn't be, well, where I think they wouldn't be. And there we go, Amazonia. It is, well, the hardscape is complete. I cannot wait to get planting Obviously, I'm going to do all of that in the next episode. And then once the planting's done, I'll also be filling it up as well. No doubt it's going to look an absolute state to start with, but you know, that's always the case when you first fill up a tank. Because obviously there's going to be a lot of dust and dirty areas from that substrate being disturbed. But I've got a feeling it's going to be absolutely awesome, and I cannot wait to see how the fish behave as well. We are now well underway in the building of the 8-foot Amazonia tank. In the last video, we built all the hardscape, as well as adding detail to the river floor. In my research with underwater footage, it very often shows that the floor of the river is nowhere near as clean as everyone thinks, and there is always debris, gravel, stones, leaf litter, and huge amounts of detail. What's going on, beautiful people? Today we are going to be transforming this monstrosity into something I have visualized in my head. If it turns out anything like I'm imagining, I think you're going to love it. Now, in the last video, I did receive a lot of messages of people saying, don't overplant the tank. And you know, my answer to that is, do you even know what channel you're on? I love overplanting tanks. I do it for a couple of reasons. First one being, it just looks awesome. Actually, there's 3 reasons. It looks awesome, really good for the fish health because the tank just looks after itself. And the third thing is, the more plants, the greater the chance of a really good startup of the tank, less algae. The plants are consuming all of the nitrates, you know, ammonia as well, and nitrite. You know, they're using it all to grow, which means the water quality stays perfect or near to perfect. Sometimes it just goes crazy for no reason. Well, there's always a reason, but you just don't know. And if we can get those plants using all the nutrients in the water column, it means there isn't anything left for algae to grow. There'll always be some, of course, especially diatoms to start with. You tend to get a lot of those. Hopefully we won't in this one because we've already used like this substrate before, the rocks and everything like that. Even now, the water level there's still a tiny bit of water in there, so there'll still be some beneficial bacteria. So we're technically not starting completely fresh, although I will be cleaning out the filters completely and starting those all again. And remember, I've been doing my research, and from what I've seen, there are areas of the river systems that have got tons of plants. Now, when you say the Amazon River, remember it's not just a little river, it's absolutely huge. So you're gonna get areas where there's tons of plants, where there's very little plants in the deeper areas because the sunlight can't penetrate down far enough. You're gonna get areas where there's full tannins and there's just leaf litter. You know, every type, to be honest, of aquarium would be there somewhere. So you can't really do it wrong. But I'm going for that traditional feel. Big leaf plants, you know, for all the tetra, the right kind of cichlids as well. I think it will look really cool. So what's the plan then? Well, we've got our jewel island. That's technically not how I'm planting it though. This area is gonna have a massive amount of plants. At some point, they're gonna reach all the way up to the surface as well. And then I'm gonna bring all the plants out into the foreground, the shorter ones with creeping sort of liliopsis as well. So it gives us a nice carpet, one that we don't actually have to keep trimming. It'll just let it grow. And then as we taper down, I'm looking to bring the plants down shorter so that in that background area, we start to bring it down and we've still got this huge negative space in the center here. And then over this side, I'll still be planting because we want that area of refuge for the fish to be able to know they can go over to. Originally, we're just gonna keep it clear so that there wasn't anything here, but someone made a great point. If we did that, wouldn't they all just stay over this area? You'd just see the occasional fish. Well, if we bring plants all over here as well, they'll be able to see that area and then you'll get them traveling between the 2 islands. And I think that area in the middle there is gonna be like a really cool highlight of the whole tank. You're seeing quite a few reflections of things at the moment. I can't do a huge amount about that, but when the water's in and the plants are, it'll be much better. Now, speaking of plants, we took a nice big delivery. So I've got tons to choose from in here. Yeah, we're a bit misted up, but I mean, in case you missed that episode, look at all of that lot in there. Tons of big leafed Echinodoros, loads of plants down here that will creep everywhere. We've got grasses, we've got bigger leafed, well, technically this one's Halanthemum bolivium, I think. Yeah, bolivium, something like that. But to me, it just looks like a mini Echinodoros, so that's just gonna carry on the theme as well. Let me get these out. We can't really see them here, can we? There we go, guys. Look at this lot. This definitely wasn't gonna be a build where I said, you know, I'll just get a few plants to start with. We've got absolutely tons here. We've got foreground, we've got midground, and then we've got background as well. So there's a ton of Echinodoros here of all different varieties. There's about 3 in total of the taller ones. And then I just went for like red pearls here. We got ocelot red, just to add that little bit of color. I mean, they're not massively red now, but under the right lighting, with some CO2 we're gonna be putting in as well. This is the only tank that I run with CO2, by the way, guys, in the whole studio. Hopefully you can see. So there's like a tube at the back that it runs down. It's all disconnected at the moment and not running, and it hasn't been running for a long time, but I'm gonna get it going again to start this tank off because I want it to be insane. So I think the best bet is gonna be to start off at the back of the tank and get the background plants in first, and then sort of pull our way forwards. I'm gonna work on this section on its own to start with, I think. It's too much to try and tackle everything. But that does mean that I've got to make sure when I'm like picking out the plants that I'm putting some aside for the other island. I have actually got even more plants in this if I need as well, so we're not shy of plants. Don't overplant it. And as always, I buy my plants from Aquafleur. If your shop hasn't got them, ask them to get them. I mean, look at the quality of that. And that's from like a week ago I took delivery as well. So good. Oh, and you might have also noticed there are already some plants in here. These are just what was left in the substrate after I ripped everything out. And I thought, well, then they're not hurting. They're adding to the whole sort of look and feel of everything. So just leave them. This one's starting to grow out of the water as well. It's been about a week since I planted, no, not planted, since I took everything out in this aquarium because I went away with the family. But now we're back and I'm ready to crack on again. The first job though is plant prep. I'm not gonna do them all in one go because I'll just get confused, there'll be mess everywhere. I'm just gonna take them apart as I go. Very easy to do. You just take them out of the basket they're in and just remove that rock wall. Remove as much as you can. You don't have to get every last bit off. I mean, if you can be bothered to do that, then fair play to you, but I'll just scrape most of it off with a fork and then I can plant it in. Whoops. Now you're gonna struggle to be able to sit, oops, no, I need that. Yeah, so you're gonna struggle to see what I'm doing here, but basically I'm putting the biggest leaf plants right at the back because obviously that makes sense. And I'm using my hands to put it in, to be honest, because it's so much easier with Echinodoros because they've got these big root systems and you just plant it like a normal sort of plant you would in your garden, push it in and then just compact the sand around it. Oh. It looks lovely. Then I've got the Echinodoros Belleri as well, which will grow nice and tall. Trying to do it with the tweezers there just doesn't work. I've just got to get right in there, which is quite difficult in this tank, but fortunately this area is raised. I definitely want some poking out the side as well. Got to be a bit careful because they're big plants, so you have to give them a decent amount of space. They also use tons of nutrients in their root systems as well. So yeah, in these areas, I'm definitely going to be putting root tabs in just to make sure that there's enough nutrients. Ah, well, I'm sure that was really interesting for you to watch. They're quite short at the moment, but they are going to grow so fast. And within, I'm going to say 2 to 3 weeks, that all of those plants that are planted, about 5 there, they're all going to be up above the wood line. Eventually, they're going to be at the surface. I'll crack on now with the stuff in the background that you can't see. Ooh, there we go. There's all the big boy plants. I mean, yeah, you can't really see too much just yet. You can see it a little bit better over here because obviously there's less wood, but yeah, just a little outcrop behind them. And then I can fill in gaps that I've left, like down here, with some other sort of mid-ground versions of the plants. Not versions of the plants, but Echinodoros. Yeah, Echinodoros Marti is this one here, and it's so vibrant. It doesn't go quite as vibrant as this once its underwater growth comes through. But it's such a beautiful plant. It actually grows quite tall. Yeah, here it is over in my triple tank. Hello, Mr. Garami. Yeah, this is it here. So it stays kind of narrow and just sort of trails out. And you can keep it short if you want, because when you get any longer leaves, you can just trim them at the base and new stuff grows out. I just like letting it go wild though, as with all my tanks. Oh, that's already looking cool. I love that. Like, you can see the wood, which is something that you guys aren't used to with me when I'm planting a tank. But again, from my research, I looked and there's not really epiphyte plants, you know, plants that stick to wood and grow on a rhizome. From the footage that I'd seen, what I do see is a lot of algae on the wood. So, I mean, we don't want that too much, but if there's a little bit, that'll be absolutely fine. It'd be such a shame to not see the wood structure. So for this one, there's no epiphytes, there's no moss, there's nothing like that. All the plant's gonna be growing up and around it, but you still have these dart holes, look, like down there, to scoot in underneath and that. Oh, it's gonna be so cool. Right, next I'm gonna move on to some mid-ground plants now. Well, we've kind of done some mid-ground plants with the Echinodorus marti there, but I'm talking like other Echinodorus, the ones that are gonna give us those red tones and pops. I'm not gonna think about it too much. I'm just gonna place them sort of everywhere and it'll just add interest in all the specific areas. Now I've got here the Echinodorus Red Pearl. So it stays really short, but really vibrant and red. I think that's gonna look so good in the foreground area. Yeah, I want it on show, so that's why I put it there. A bit deeper actually. That's gonna grow so good. And then another one on the side as well. We're gonna have foreground plants as well as these, but I think these, like in and amongst the finer leafed textures, will look so beautiful. And then some more in this section as well. Trying to keep them in areas where there's full light, because that's what really gets the red popping, is the light intensity. If I put it in the shaded bits, it'll still grow, but nowhere near how good it could be. And you know your plant wants to grow red when even its root systems have got red in them as well. I've not really seen that before. Pretty cool. Now next up is the Echinodorus Ocelot Red. Now it's called Ocelot because of these little sort of flecks in the leaves. It can grow actually quite tall, so it's not really a foreground plant, but it's just going to add more colours to the background area. And we mustn't forget to spray everything down because it's drying out pretty quickly. I'm in a very humid room here, so, well, humid should mean it stays moist, but it's hot as well. It's hot outside today, and they're drying out quite fast. But we'll be filling up soon, so that's, well, not soon, but after we've done the foreground and carpeting plants. So that's big plants done. Now, at the moment, it doesn't look like a lot, does it? But you just wait, like, imagine what we've got here times like 5 in 3 to 4 weeks. It's gonna be huge, it's gonna look insane. The fish are gonna love it. So one of the main foreground plants is gonna be this, Liliopsis. This is the Novia Zealandi version, but it basically looks almost the same as Braziliensis, which makes sense for what we're doing. So that's the Liliopsis prepped. Basically took them all out of their baskets and then split them into 2. So we've got like double the amount there, and that should be enough. And what I wanna do is sort of have it on the edges of everything sporadically, and then a good section in the middle here that tapers into the other side and just sort of ties those bits all in together. Not completely, some sand and that on show as well, because our cories are gonna love that. But yeah, this is the sort of binder, I'm classing it as, that binds the 2 islands. Looking good. And then next up, it's our hairgrass. Eleocharis acicularis, I think that's how it's pronounced. Look at that, it's like a little troll. And last but not least, the Helamphion bolivian. I'm struggling. Bolivian, that one. Right, and there we have it. I can fill it up. I am so hot up and down this ladder. It's actually a lot of work doing this. Like, it looks quite smooth, I suppose, on video, but it's been half a day and I'm actually pretty exhausted. But look at that middle section now. I've merged the hairgrass and the Liliopsis as well, and they should all merge in as one. It should look pretty cool. And we've still got that nice clear sand area in the middle, which should attract out some of the cories, which is awesome. Oh, I'm just gonna fill it up. And a tank this size takes about 3 hours to fill up because the water pressure isn't huge, but it's best to do it slow anyway, isn't it? Right, I filled the tank halfway. We're getting to the end of the day, and I noticed a little bit of movement on the wood. I've got a couple of rocks I put in as well, look, just to hold it down. I think if I just leave it halfway for now, let them soak overnight, because the majority of the wood is in the water, and then by tomorrow they won't be like as buoyant and I can just fill it up then. But yeah, so far so good. The water's actually remained quite clear considering the fact that there's no filters or flow on. So that's a really good start. We'll see tomorrow though, I might come in, there might still be some tannins in some of this wood and it might be very murky. And just like that, it is now the next day, and as suspected, we have got some murkiness going on. Now I'm thinking once we top the tank up, it'll sort of like dilute it a bit. Maybe not. I mean, once the filters are running though, it won't be an issue at all. But yeah, first job, continue the filling. I'm pretty sure that wood is now waterlogged. But I'm just going to keep the rocks on for now anyway, because it's not hurting at all. Yeah, it doesn't look great, looks a bit weird, especially this one here. This one doesn't actually look too bad. It looks kind of like it might have just fallen there, but still, I will take them off eventually. But for now, just keep them on there and just keep filling. Well, that's everything filled up, and look at this. Hello, little guy. It's a good job I left a little bit of water at the bottom, because he obviously got in under a rock somewhere, had enough of a puddle, and it's absolutely fine. A gorgeous looking bristlenose there. I wasn't actually going to put any bristlenose in this tank, purely because they do like to munch on the Echinodorus leaves. But you know, one is fine. There's going to be so many plants in here, he's not going to be able to get through all of those, is he? And he'll keep the wood a little bit clear as well. But he's like a honeycomb version. So like, I'm saying it's more than like, there's some bristles right at the top there, so it could well be a young male. But yeah, gorgeous looking fish. I'm very pleased that he managed to survive that, because I had no chance of seeing him. I did take everything out though, didn't I? And I scoured it, I scanned it, and it was empty for quite a while. So I thought I would have seen him, but I guess not. And I'm sure you can see on the time lapse as well, there's lots of snails. They're all over the rock there, there's on the wood. So that's brilliant. We've already got like the start of an ecosystem, and all I've done is fill it up with water. But it's amazing what these guys can, survive through. I mean, there was water, don't get me wrong, but it was literally like a tiny little bit. So all the life had obviously gone down into that area. And this is what I was saying as I was collecting out the fish. There's always another fish that you didn't see. So yeah, he's all healthy, he's all good, and he's gone. And as suspected as well, all of the little branches I put down are all floating up to the top. I'm just going to leave them. They're going to sink in their own time. They'll be more manageable then, can place them where I want them. And the same's happened on this side. This piece here is being pinned currently, but it was sort of laid down. And I think that will just, waterlog and lay down on its own, so I don't need to really interfere. They'll all do that, but how are these going to fall? I don't know. It looks very weird at the moment, look, nothing moving. And yeah, it's misty, but that will clear when we sort out the filters. So speaking of filters, we have got an FX6 on this side and an FX6 on this side as well. Now they're currently full of water, which is my fault. I completely forgot about them. That water in the filters will be like putrid. It will absolutely stink, because it's been well over a week of like no flow going for them, and all the bacteria in there would have pretty much died, I would have thought. Well, most of it anyway. So what I'm gonna have to do is take those both out, drain them off, sort of build them all again. And that's something for the next video. We've got quite a few things to do coming up in the next video as well. So we've got the filters to sort, the CO2 to sort at the back. We're gonna get the flow going awesome. I've also got another pump to be able to put in, not a pump, a wave maker. Oh, our friend's back, hello. Hello. He's like, this whole tank just for me? You shouldn't have. Yeah, we're gonna get a wave maker in there, so we've got fast flow, just like what we're seeing in the underwater footage as well, because a lot of the stuff I was seeing was just very, very fast flowing, and I think that's gonna suit the tank a lot. And then when we've done that and got the tank clear, we can put some of the fish back in as well. So I filled the tank up 2 days ago now, because yesterday was my daughter's 5th birthday party. And I didn't come into the studio at all, which is very rare to me, or for me, should I say. But look, it's actually cleared more than when I first filled it up, which is never normally the case. We've got some good pearling action going on with some of the plants. Considering there's absolutely no flow in the tank, I'm really happy. I thought I was gonna come in here today, after a whole day of not being in, this just being a murky mess. So that's brilliant, because it means there isn't a huge amount of tannins in this wood. And don't get me wrong, some people love tannins, but for my showpiece tank, when you walk in, if I had an 8-foot Blackwater, I mean, purists among us would love it, but the majority of people would be like, this guy doesn't look after his tanks. Now, speaking of looking after my tanks, could this whole thing run without a filter? Probably. I mean, there's quite a lot of plants in there. If I was going to do it like that, I'd have a lot more stems in to start with just to get everything going a lot quicker. But we're not doing that. We don't want to do filterless in this tank. We're going to do mega filter, quite the opposite of filterless. So yeah, as I showed previously, we have got 2 FX6s to go on this tank. And I accidentally left all the water inside of those whilst I've been doing this without any flow, which means it's all got to come out. I'm going to clean it all properly. And then basically I'm gonna have to restart. But it's not gonna be a problem at all. We've also got the substrate that we kept from the start, which had a layer of water going through it. So there's gonna be some good beneficial bacteria. And also I'm not going bang, tons and tons of fish instantly. By the end of this video, we're gonna have some fish in the tank. I'm gonna start with a small school and then over like the course of a week, introduce more and more fish. And then a week later, you know, that sort of thing. So we're building the whole bacteria steadily as we go. I mean, that's how I always start tanks anyway, fishing cycles. On this scale though, you can start with a lot more fish. But I need to start just by getting the whole thing out. It's quite simple. I've got UV filters and things like that running on there, but we'll get to that in a minute. I just got to get it out. Oh, I wish we had smell-o-vision because it stinks. Now, the bacteria that's colonized everything in there has died because it's had no flow, no oxygen, that kind of thing. And it really does stink. I should have opened this outside, but oh, the whole room smells like farts, and that's just one of them. The other one's definitely getting opened outside. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is I wanted to, you know, just see how the filter has coped over 6 months without being cleaned once. There's definitely some debris on the top here. I'm going to get it apart completely, lay it all out, and we can see how well it's coped. So far, it looks pretty decent. The water's clear sat in it, but there might be like a whole pool of gunk at the bottom, so it'll be quite interesting. Let me get this outside. I would have expected more, I have to say. I mean, everyone knows that the FX6s are really good filters. Oh my God. It smells so bad. Let's take it apart. I'm massively impressed. Yes, there's some gunk on the top of each layer, but it's pretty darn good. Sponge is clear there. Yeah, let's see how much gunk's in the bottom and also make sure that there's no baby fish or anything. Mind you, I don't think they would have survived now. There's literally not that much down here. Very impressive. So I'm just going to hose all of this off, like with, you know, the proper water from the tap. Doesn't matter, everything sort of needs refreshing anyway, so I'm not killing off bacteria that's already probably dead. Right, top tip for you. Don't ever leave your filter for 2 weeks in standing water. That absolutely stank. My own fault. All this gunk, look, so much come out, and it's gonna work so well. Really, really impressed with this FX6. I've never used big fluval filters before this project because I've never needed to, but yeah, the way it puts together, the quality of the build, and everything's so tough in that as well. It's a very, very good piece of equipment. So we're all set up, ready to go again. Now, a mistake I made last time I did this, I forgot, or I didn't realize actually, because I didn't read the instructions very well. Fill it up with water first, put the lid on, and it self-primes and does everything. And you don't have to press any buttons, or you just turn it on and it like works itself out, gets rid of air, and starts pumping. But also inside, so we've got our 2 pipes, inlets and outlets there with a UV sterilizer attached. Now those pipes are full of manky water, so I need to open the taps and just drain them out before I plug it all back on. Okay, I've just plumbed everything back in. Now I'm guessing one of 2 things will happen here. Either I've put the outlet on the inlet and the inlet on the outlet and it's gonna go a bit weird, or that's how I had it before. I can't remember. Oh, I should look at the footage. Let me look at the footage. Yes, I just checked, all good. We should be able to, after I clean the water off this plug now, be able to turn it straight on. it should work. Yes. Very odd noise that I've never experienced before. Need to work out what that is. I worked out what the noise was. I forgot that I took that filter out and left it there, so it was just running dry. It'll be fine though, it was only a couple of seconds. But there we go though, the filter spat out a ton of like crud and things. It always will do that. Maybe that will help seed the tank even faster. But at the moment, it's all pointed underneath the water. It's not pointing upwards, so there's no sort of flickering, but we will adjust things like that, or I might just use the power heads to generate that. And in fact, it's just gone off. The Fluval FX6 does this. You start it up, then it stops to let any air bubbles come to the surface in the canister, and then it goes again. First time it did this, I was like, oh great, it's broken straight away. But it will just start up again any second. There we go, look. Back up and running again. Mind you, I mean, that's a lot of awesome shimmer we're getting there, even from that one pump. And it's not really pointed at the surface, like I've designed it to come pushing out the front, this side, goes all the way around the back, to the back then, and then the other one was designed to push directly at the back, so you get that sort of circular rotation. I now need to crack on with the second one now, don't I? And I'm anticipating I come in tomorrow and this water's crystal clear. At least I hope so anyway. Right, it's currently the end of the day. Both filters are now fitted and running. Look at that sort of shimmer we've got going on. That is really nice. I wasn't expecting the tank to clear up this much just by putting both the filters on. They've been running now about an hour, both of them. It's already looking really good. I just wanted to show you guys before we flick to tomorrow. Tomorrow we're fitting CO2 and we're going to be putting our first fish in. And yeah, take a look at that. Hopefully it's even clearer in the morning. Underneath where the spotlights are, you can see like there's a slight haze still, but that's way clearer than when we first started it up. Yeah, I can't wait to get in tomorrow morning now and see how it is looking. And it's the next day, look at that. That is proper clear now. Like you can see right to the back without a misting. Very, very impressed with it all, have to say. Well, I am, don't get me wrong, but part of me is like, I'm not used to seeing something looking this sort of empty. I like to plant stuff usually that's like makes it look grown in straight away, but that's not the point of this one. But what I can say about the plants is look at this. Look, already we've got giant red leaves appearing in this Echinodorus rose in the foregrounds. That one there, every single one of them has sprouted a new red leaf. So we know the substrate system's good, we know the lighting levels are good down there as well. And if there's enough light without causing algae for plants to do that at the substrate level, it means for sure that these plants are gonna creep and they're gonna carpet exactly like we want them to. But to help them do that, we are gonna fit CO2, something that I don't really use on many of my tanks at all. But for this big one, even in the last rendition of it, I did use CO2 for the first 2 or 3 months. And then when it eventually ran out, I just left it, to be honest, because it was already grown in, and I'm normally like that. Once the tank's done, I'm like, yeah, I just want to do something else, which is exactly why we've done this. So you can see at the back there's a diffuser. And then tucked down there as well, there is another one. And they lead into these cupboards here. So you can see we've got our canister there. We've got a solenoid, it's plugged into a timer. It's got a drop checker, which does need filling up again because it's been such a long time. But basically, I take this out, replenish it with citric acid, and I think the other one's like bicarb soda. I think that's what the mix is. And it just generates it all again for the next few months, depending on how harsh you go with it. To be honest, to start with, I'm going to turn it up quite a bit. So it won't last that long for the initial one. It probably lasts about a month. So yeah, it's quite simple. Unplug it. Take the bottle out. And yeah, this is the Colombo system, and then you get the packets as well. The top there is just quick release. That's how I was able to just unplug it so quickly. Now you want to release any pressure. Oh, still actually a little bit in there. Barely anything though, so I can undo that. And then over here is where I keep my Colombo and Superfish supplies. I've got my CO2 refills here. You can also get a cheaper version that has like a dome. I don't use that one. I just want this. And it's very, very simple. Component B, component A. The little funnel, snip the end off. In goes component A. And then component B. 300 ml of water, 45 degrees, and the reaction takes place instantly. You can hear it fizzing straight away. Can you hear that? So put the lid on because we want to capture all of that. Help if I close the tap as well. Tap closed. Nice and tight. We are generating pressure. So the needle is now rising, and when it gets into the green, it means we can, turn it on, plug it in, turn it on. Now this is not like yeast, sort of the yeast version. That just generates over time. The reaction takes place, the whole bottle gets full with enough CO2, and then it's there to use as if you've bought a canister of CO2. It's just my preferred way of doing it. A lot of people say, get a fire extinguisher, get a solenoid. This all comes as one kit, and it just suits me down to the ground, to be honest. Right, it's been about 5 minutes. We're halfway up. That means we can start, and look, you can see where the gas is in there because it's all cold down the bottom, and that'll just keep generating as time goes by. But halfway up, that's enough to crack on. Right, there we go. Both sides, the CO2 is working, and our buddy's back. Hello. That's the third time I've seen him now. He's loving the wood. See that? There's all sorts of little bits of grime in it on that wood from previous, and he's gonna clean all of that up. And if you could stay there, my friend, instead of going anywhere near my Echinodorus, that would be great. So some of the sticks have started to settle. This one's just broke free, and it's almost sinking, but it's just a bit buoyant still. I don't know how. Like this one, I'm pretty sure these have just sort of sunk and that's where they've stayed, but we can move them because that looks a bit silly. But the one over here, the big one I laid down, I quite like how that's just sort of lodged itself there and arcs across. It's quite a nice little feature, so I'm just going to leave that completely. Flick that one down a little bit more, just so it's a bit more standout. So I'm not going to overthink it. That I think these are going to sink. You going to sink? The bottom bit's sunk, but not the top. How is that even a thing? Oh, this one is though. Let's get in there and shuffle it around a bit, and then the other one can fall where it wants eventually. I want it more over here, you see. That's it, that's a bit better. Going across that rock, it just looks quite cool. Don't want to restrict the plant growth though. I think I've just made it buoyant again. No, there we go, good. This one here, bring that across a little bit, kind of looping. Okay, cool. I don't think that's ready to play ball yet, that one, look. Why is it upright? It's just stood there. You can stay there for the time being. This one's just like floating in the flow, occasionally sinking, so that's probably going to go down by tomorrow. I'm not too worried, I can just go where it wants. So we've done substrate, we've done hardscape, we've done planting, we've done filters, we've done CO2, we've done sticks. Now it's time for the first fish. And the reason why I want to put fish now rather than just waiting to put them all in is because one, I'm bored of looking at nothing in the tank, and two, I know that it's ready, it's going to be able to sustain them very, very easily. We also need to be putting some kind of ammonia and everything like that in the tank to get that cycle going, to create the beneficial bacteria. I mean, they'll breed? Do they breed? We'll go with breed. The beneficial bacteria will colonize and multiply with a food source, and all these plants, they're in really good condition. There's no organic waste being produced for ammonia, so we need the fish to actually do that. Now, to dump them all in at the same time, I could do it. I could do that. I can keep an eye on it with water testing. I could change the water if it showed any ammonia spikes or anything like that, but there's no need. So I'm just going to start smaller, put in some of the tetra, and then we can add the bigger fish and stuff like that in the next sort of week or so. Be good to get the little ones settled first as well. Yeah, so we've got all the tetra that are in here. We've got diamond tetra, some black phantoms there. We've got the Januaries. We've got some silver tip as well. And we've got the killifish, the ones at the top there. They did really well in that tank. They were absolutely tiny when I first put them in, and now they're like as big as the tetra, which is cool. I'll also put this Siamese algae eater back in because this tank is pretty much too small and it was in there anyway. Very good for getting thread algae, these guys. Not this kind of algae, this is different. This is more like moss ball, marine mo, I don't even know. The moss balls you get, it's that kind of algae. Nothing likes to eat that. And then we've got more of the same next door as well. And again, over here with some of the cories, we'll put those in. I think all three of these tanks can go in. Right guys, I collect up the fish. I've got a good over 100 here probably. The temperature of the tank is matching their temperatures because the whole room is heated. So let's just put them straight in. And here we go. I mean, it looks like an absolute ton, right? But the bioload of those is nothing compared to the water volume, the amount of plants we've got. I'll still be testing, don't get me wrong. That looks so cool. Look at it, we're going across the middle. I don't know if I've ever put that many fish into one tank before. I think I may have done actually, just not in my own studio. But they always do this to start with. They all group up together. It's almost like they know that that's the safest thing to do, and they'll school. And eventually though, they'll start separating out into their like own little groups. Oh look, there's the killifish at the top. They're like, oh, I recognize this place, but something's a little different. There's way more space. They're schooling really nicely around all the wood. So they've already gone from that right-hand side to the left with no problem at all. And look, now they're doing it again. So there is proof of concept. The idea to do that was definitely a good one. So thank you to the person in the comments that you know who you are, I'm sure, that suggested to do that, because it's working exactly like I thought. It's like a motorway going across, and there's this middle section here is going to be awesome. I'm going to always keep that sort of open. No matter what, no matter how the plants try to grow, I'm going to keep that middle section open so we keep seeing the fish go backwards and forwards. At the moment, obviously, it's all the small fish, but I will be adding the bigger fish later on. Oh, there's one bigger fish. You. Little Siamese algae. He's fine. Not sure. He's just like chilling at the moment. A bit more of a shy fish, the Siamese algae eaters, but looking good. Look at the size of the January tetras now. A lot smaller than that when I first got them. And massive. Here's my finger for reference, look. That's a big old tetra. All of them, to be fair, all the tetras, because they've been in there a long time, on a decent diet, you know. We're feeding the angelfish, so we're putting a good amount of food in to make sure they all got fed. And even the diamond tetras, look at those. Look at the little red bit above their eyes. Sorry, blue. It's definitely not red. They look so good. The slate cories have instantly kind of gone and hidden, so I'm not sure where they are at the moment, but again, cories tend to be shy as soon as you put them in, and then when a few of them start coming out, we'll see them. I'm sure we'll see them soon. Now, as much as I like the shimmer going on, looking back at the underwater footage, it was a lot more pronounced. Now, we can get that easily just with some, you know, some flow hitting the top. Even with the filter that we've got running on each side, I could just turn up one of the nozzles. Each side's got 2 nozzles, so I could do that and it not really disrupt the actual, you know, flow design of the tank. Or I could put in a power head. Some people were worried that putting a power head in with these small fish might not be the greatest idea. They could get blown around, but remember, there's going to be tons of spots where there isn't loads of flow, and then there'd be some nearer the surface that would have higher flow, simulating quite a bit like a river, if we're honest. Like, that's what it looks like when you look at those fish on the water. It's just flowing up against them and they're finding their own little areas. So I think to start with, I'm just going to turn the filters upwards, because let's have a vote. Should I add a power head? I'll do this first. I'll make the shimmer higher, and then we'll decide. Because yeah, as we look here, look, it looks great. Really loving how the fish are behaving already. But I feel like I want even more flicker. Maybe I don't, we'll see. Let's do it and see what it looks like. So if I get my trusty old broken ladder, which I still haven't got a new one. It's one of those things you just forget when you go home. I've got so used to it now though, to be honest. Actually, that top one feels a bit dodgy. That's probably gonna go soon as well. Right, turn this up. Okay, that looks like it's flicking more already. Yeah, it definitely is. It's coming out further as well. Let's do the other side. Up. I think I know how I broke this. It was because I kept getting down really hard, like as I was trying to do things quickly. So I'm just more careful with it now. Okay, that's that one turned up as well. I think that's it. I think we've nailed it. I nearly fell down the ladder. Yeah, that is definitely glistening a lot more like I was seeing in the underwater footage. If I add a power head, it's gonna make it like glisten a lot more on one side, because I've only got one. Should I do it? Let me know in the comments. What I really like is the way the light shimmering on the back of the tank in the black looks like sun rays coming down. And as the plants all grow in and get taller, there'll be more some areas will be more shaded than others, and it'll come through into the foreground area, and some at the back will be a bit darker. I mean, we're way off that. It's going to be a couple of months, but I'm going to make improvements to this tank as we go, obviously with adding fish, but also adding design features as well. So there's not just waiting for plants to grow. I've got a few ideas. Because of the way the tank is designed, there's like a lip that goes all the way around it, so I can't really put house plants in like I usually would with just the roots dangling over the edge. But I do want to put something that fills that back area at the top, because it's going to be ages until the Echinodorus grows up. And I'm thinking like some sort of grid that I could place in there and put like certain plants that are happy just floating on the surface, but sort of grow like stems as if they're on the embankment. I'll have a think about that, but yeah, I definitely want to add something cool, a feature like that into the tank. So the first fish are in and are already looking settled. They seem to be really enjoying the shape of the islands and just the tank in general. It's now been about 20 minutes since I first put the fish in. The January tetra, as you can see there, look, are all still staying together. And our bristlenose is back out in the open, really happy with his new friends. The cories have got brave enough. Seeing all those fish about means that they're coming to the foreground and exploring everything. But this is just the start for this tank. Adding the first fish is just the first phase. As time goes by, we're going to get more and more growth. I'm probably going to add more sticks as well, just to add more of that leaf litter feel. Not over the top. I don't want the actual tannins from the wood, I just want the detail. What has amazed me most about adding the fish is that they're all so like brave and out in the open. I was expecting a lot of them to hide initially and then over time come out, but right from the moment we put them in, they've been all over the tank. They look really, really happy. I noticed in the middle section at the back, all the black phantoms were all together. It's like they'd claimed that territory for their own, which is really cool. And then the same for the red phantoms in the foreground. All starting to get into their groups now rather than one big ball of fish as when you first put them in. Today is about the Amazonia tank, which I'm moderately happy with. I'm not as happy as I thought I would be, but we're going to change that now. We're going to get it there. We're going to get it where I want and need it. So what's bothering me? Well, it's not the algae on the glass. Who cares about that? That comes off instantly. I've literally not touched this since I put the fish in. That was deliberate. I just wanted to see how it went, let it go through its initial phases. I mean, we've got some crazy growth, don't get me wrong. Look at this bad boy coming over here. Obviously, this plant needs trimming and replanting at each point. It wants to grow close to the surface in and out of other plants, but obviously it's just reaching. The pearlweed here, which I didn't even plant, is doing my head in. Have to get that up or it will just take over. It's kind of spoiling the look of the tank, this great big non-native-y bush thing in the foreground. The rocks need to come off of all the wood now as well. They should be absolutely fine. I think the first thing I need to do though is get that glass scraped and top the tank up as well, because it's looking a bit rough. Oh, and you'll be pleased to know, look, this is a brand new ladder, which is very sturdy. Not as high as the other one, but you know, I didn't even need the last step anyway. There we go. So even though there is a ton of crud floating in the water, it actually looks better already. I should definitely do a water change though, shouldn't I? Because it's a lot of algae just floating, and there's also like a scumminess to the surface as well. I don't want to do a water change because it's a pain, but I think I should. It'll be the first proper water change that this tank's had as well. Also, not to forget the fact, of course, it's going to be far easier for me to get right into the tank and down and remove things and plant new plants and that if the water's down lower. So we're going for a nice 50% water change. I've got out all of that pearlweed from the front there. There was another couple of bits dotted about. We're looking good though. I mean, I've just noticed we've got hairgrass all creeping into the foreground there. There's another set of runners at the back as well. So the plants are growing, which is good, but I do want to give the whole tank a bit of a boost. It needs some faster growing plants to help combat that algae, get it settling in a lot faster. And that's where some of these plants are going to come into play. Too big for this tank now, I'm going to trim them right back. Going to pinch some of the Ludwigias as well to add some pops of red to the other tank. Again, they're not too fast growing, so it's not going to be something that's going to overtake the tank. This one will though, but I'll keep it all together and it's just a simple snip. So because these stems are like big and floaty and getting the flow, I've attached some ceramic rings, some extra weights onto this one because it's very big, and then a ceramic ring on that one. I can sink it right into the substrate, and and then that will lock it all down. The Ludwigias are absolutely fine. I can just put them straight in the substrate. And the area right back here is where I want to put the stems. So there's a bit more of a background. See, this is the only issue of an 8-foot tank. Doing everything is difficult because you've got to get right down in there. Right, there's one in. I want the other one just next to it. Oh, just jogged the wood a bit, but it's all right. Right, that should look amazing when we fill it up. Because there was just a little bit of a gap in that section. Now, reds, where do we want the reds? So I want them to be really standing out. So we've got some colour over this side, and I think if we put some just in this sort of section here, that'll look awesome. I've got a nice deep amount of substrate here, so that should anchor them down really well. Oh yeah, that's going to look great. And there's another little gap right next to it as well. Yes. Right, awesome. Let's fill her up. And whilst the tank is filling, I just want to draw your attention to a very special handsome man's tank down here. So I recently did a nice big clear out on Chunks' tank and the electric blue cars. Look at the colours on the electric blues at the moment. So they are definitely getting ready to spawn again. Look, they're being very defensive over this area. Even Chunks, he's such a gentle giant. He's like, no, it's okay, I won't get involved. I'll go to my spot. This is my little spot over here. Anyway, when I was tidying this whole thing up, I kept seeing little things wiggling around. I couldn't quite make out what they were because Chunks was chasing them. And when he eventually stopped, I did see what they were. And I've placed them in this aquarium here. Look. So you see, right there and right at the back. No, not the back. So right here you can see there's a baby lemon tetra in the foreground. The other ones are babies from a different tank. But look, there's 2 lemon tetras there, baby ones. There's about 6 in total though. Some of them are down the bottom there. There's one just hanging about. So yeah, in the tank with Chunks, we've got like 3 adult lemon tetras. I was half tempted to take the 3 of them out and put them in their own tank just to keep them breeding because I know they can now. But whilst the tank was completely sort of overrun with plants and there was so much mold at the bottom, which to be honest is probably what allowed the babies to survive, once I cleared that out, they were all out in the open, all over in the corners. Now I'm pretty sure that Chunks did manage to catch a few of them. I just saw him going absolutely crazy all along the front here, and he never behaves like that, so I knew something was going on. And it turns out you were chasing those babies, weren't you? It's okay, you can't really blame him, can you? But yeah, I managed to save about 5 or 6, put them in the other tank, let them grow out. So yeah, that is really cool. Lemon tetras now have bred in here, and the electric blue acaras have as well. How are their babies getting on? Here's one of them. Oh, there's another one just coming forward from the back. There is 3 total. Oh yeah, there we go. There's always this tiny, tiny diddy one. And then there's this one here, getting kind of big. They're not big, but you know, like so exciting watching them grow. I'm deliberately leaving all this mold and everything in the tank. It just seems to be really beneficial. It just provides like constant food sources for grazing and that. And they're growing at a good rate. I can't put them in the other tank yet, obviously, because yeah, they would be gobbled for sure. Now, over at the self-sustaining tank, I've had to make an adjustment because it got a little bit murky again. Not the sort of amount that most people will be bothered with, but it was bothering me. So I've added the filter back in that I had in there before to clear it up. Now, the reason I didn't just put a filter in the first place, because I didn't want to have like the maintenance of it, but the filter that's in there has got like coarse charcoal, not charcoal, what am I trying to say? What's the word? What is the word? Why can't I remember the word? What's the word? Activated carbon. That's the stuff. So it's a bag of like activated carbon, which means it's not going to be like getting clogged up like a sponge that has to be cleaned out regularly. So I'm happy just to probably just leave that in, and it's like no maintenance still. I've still not done anything to the tank, still staying topped up, although actually all that's nearly down. I do need to top up the reservoir. So this one is like, whoa, what's that been? A month and a half, something like that. Whenever the water gets low in this tank, the little sensor over here tells the pump down to pump water back up in, and it keeps it nice and level, almost nice and level. Close enough though, yeah? But yeah, we've had fantastic growth. Look at the stems over this side. They're all covering the surface now. They definitely need a trimming and replanting and actually get it looking back fresh again. Now, I never like to overcomplicate this part of the process, so I just go in and start hacking, to be honest. There we go, all of that come up. I'll let it float out the way for the minute so I can see the rest of it. Some more in the background. And this is why I'm so pleased with my substrate system I developed, and I like showing you, and why I use it so often. You know, the sand that's capped over the top of a lot of other nutrients. We use the NutriBase. We put the the pond soil down and then cap it all with the sand, and just look at how like decent this plant is. There is absolutely zero CO2 in there, and even the Wallichii now has got the top areas. It's got nice like pinky redness to the top of the leaves. That'll only get more and more vibrant. Let's just get all these plugged back in. I'm going to keep them separate still, so grab the Wallichii first. There's 1, 2. That's a bit too tall, so I can snap it at one point and then put it back together, and now I've effectively got 3 shoots. Snap it again if I want, keep them really short, and now I've got 4. It's like infinite money glitch. So I've got 4 together, come down, stick it in the sand. Simple as that. There we go, that's everything I just trimmed and saw floating on the surface, all back in the same spot. Way more dense in that area now. As it grows again, it's going to be like one thick bush in that area, and it should look fantastic. I've murked the water a little bit there just by planting quite aggressively, but now we've got the activated carbon in that filter at the back there. It should clear up pretty quickly. But back to the tank, it's full, and I think it is now looking fantastic, so much better than when I first did it. Sometimes these things take time. When I first set up the 8 foot before, I put so many stem plants in that within 2 weeks it was already sort of full. Well, that's completely different on this occasion. You know, Echinodorus takes a lot longer to grow, but once it gets going, it can look amazing. And I'm really pleased with that. There was sort of like a bland area there where that Mariophyllum is now, and that just filled out that spot really nicely. I'm so much pleased with how it's looking. I can see now where it's going and how much better it's going to look. There we go. There's a full tank shot, and I'll overlay now what it looked like after we first set it up. And you can just see then the difference between a month and a half, is it now? Something like that. And hopefully that'll then show you how it's going to be within another month. Now, I have to admit, a couple of days ago, I was a little bit gutted because Kate come in and she looked at it and said, oh, it's so dirty, it doesn't look good. It's nowhere near as good as your previous one. And I was like, oh, I know she's right. You know, she's right at that moment, but I can see that it's going to be insane. Completely different looking to the other one. But I personally think by the time we've got the bigger fish in and everything like that, it's going to come into its own even more. It's going to be much easier to keep looking really good as well because we've got those much bigger leafed plants. Apart from some of the Ludwigias we've just planted and that Mariophyllum, but that's just an easy snip anyway, as I showed you on the red tank. So yeah, let's just be a little bit more patient with it. Come on, I mean, look at how much that's changed in, I just checked actually, I just overlaid it, 42 days it was. That's changed massively. The CO2 is still running on it as well, but I've never had it that high. I thought I turned it up high. It's not really high. I've got it on like 2 bubbles per second for this massive tank. Isn't actually a high concentration. And if I put one of those little bubble, CO2 level things, it's like a upside down bubble. You put the fluid in it and it goes different colors. I don't reckon this would be the right level, but I don't want to go crazy with it. It's working really well with the level I've set it at. And so, you know, that's good for me. Oh, got a nice bristle nose on the back there, which is not the one that I thought we had in here. That's a different one. Remember, we've got the honeycomb in here. That's a black one. How has he got in there? I guess they were both still in here. Anyway, not a problem. I didn't want to put a load of bristlenose in here because of the amount of swords we've got, and they can chew on them. Like, they're so soft-leaved and they're flat and they just like to like go all the way up. But because there's so many in here, I can't see any that have been damaged by any bristlenose. So we'll just keep those 2 in there. I'm not going to take them out, not that it would even be possible. No way could I do that. But everything is just going so well in all the aquariums at the moment. And it's funny, because you stare at the tank like every day, you kind of forget like what's happening and how fast it's growing, because when I look back at that shot, you could barely see any of these plants all in the back there, the Echinodorus, and now they're like massive and they're coming to the surface. They're going to get much taller as well. Can't wait. So I think that's a really good update of this tank and, you know, some of the other tanks as well. This one is going to be getting bigger fish soon. I just want to give it a little bit more time. The next video will be adding all of the angels, all of the keyhole cichlids. We've got flaggercar as well. We've got more cories to add in. It's going to be pretty good. So make sure you subbed and everything for that one. See you on the next one. What is going on, beautiful people? Today is the day that we're adding the bigger fish into the 8-foot aquarium. Hang on. Oh yeah, it's very, very reflective. Let me fix that. This should solve it. There we go. So in the last video, we gave the tank a full clean up, removed some of the rocks, added in some new plants as well, and they are doing really good. So the tank is looking fantastic in terms of the plants, but as you can see, there's that greenness to the glass back, and look at the surface as well. It's kind of like got quite a thick film on it. That's easy to solve with just a surface skimmer. And I don't know if you can tell, but the bristle nose, look, has been trying to have a go at all of the algae on the glass, the green spot. It's done a pretty good job, to be fair, but we want it all gone, don't we?
But anyway, enough of the update. The tank is looking great. The tank is ready. The tank needs bigger fish.
And here they are. They've been waiting so patiently. Hang on, you can barely see anything. Let me get some of those floating plants out. Literally cleared a ton of these just a few days ago. Calm down, guys. It's absolutely fine. Oh, I'm very excited to see how they behave. We've got one of the big ones in there, and the rest are just the little ones. All these temperatures are matching, guys, so nothing to worry about there. Go on then. And you, that's it. Okay. How are they? Oh, yes, that's... Do you know what? Feel like that has massively spiced the tank up with just those instantly, because there's something bigger to focus on. Do you know what I mean? Oh, they look great. Right, let's go. Next group in. There's a fair bit of crud in with these guys, so the water will get a bit dirty, but, you know, it wasn't possible for that not to happen. Okay. Yeah, loads of muck in the water, but that's all right. I mean, if we've got to do a water change, we will, but it should be fine. The filters are pretty powerful, should pick that up. This one's mainly keyholes and cardinal tetra as well. A good amount in here. Come on, guys. Yes. Oh. So even more nano fish. I just thought I might as well move them across because they were getting caught in the net anyway. Oh, there's the keyholes down the bottom. So I'm hoping this is easy because Chunks is, look, he's getting excited, look, because he's moving way more because Kate's there. I said earlier how he gets excited and moves around when you're here, look. But he doesn't move at all for me. Although he's, does he know? I reckon he understands us.
I'm here.
It's definitely because you're here.
It's definitely me.
So he's usually quite easy to catch, and I'm hoping that is the case. Otherwise, we're going to have to get everything out, Kate. But let me try. Okay, you take the camera.
He's not going to be happy.
Yeah, I already told him how he gets grumpy when you move him. Right, I need two big ones.
He went on hunger strike last time.
Yeah. Don't know if this is going to spook him or not, but if I come in from this side and on this side, I don't want the floating plants, then hopefully you can just edge him in nice and gentle. Look, he's not even bothered by that there.
He will be in a minute.
Yeah, so when you come out the water with him, he
You're
really
going to
doesn't...
scoop him so he can't jump out.
Yeah, he'll get locked. Now I've got him. Oh, see, now he knows he's in there. He doesn't like it.
Can you scoop him so he doesn't jump out, Mark?
No, he won't jump out.
He will jump out.
He won't, don't worry, I've got him. Go to the back of the net.
No. Put another net over the top of him.
He'll be fine. Right, ready? Ah, I'm wet.
Go.
Okay, look, he's right in there. He's not flapping. Put him in the water. If he stays there, look at this. He's in. Look, the others.
Oh,
whoa, he looks amazing in there.
He didn't like that.
He didn't like it at all.
I didn't like that.
He's very splashy. Oh, he looks great. I was expecting him to go and hide. Look, he looks absolutely massive compared to the others, doesn't he?
He makes him look way bigger in there. Oh, that scared me.
Why did it scare you?
I thought he was going to jump out.
No, you've never seen him come out of a tank, have you?
No.
He's so splashy like that. Like, I'm actually soaking. But yeah, look, he's loving that. Well, I've shut the curtains now so we can actually see the tank a bit better. But look, yeah, he's gone darker. So you see how his colour's dark up. He feels threatened, obviously, because we've scooped him out. That would just be from the netting. He won't feel like that now. But all the others are pretty cool with him. He looks massive, doesn't he?
He's not afraid of any of the fish.
Look, there's the electric blue. That's gone darker because
they
he's
think
there.
they're being fed. That's
Yeah, we can feed them, actually. That's probably a good shout. What are you going for? Pellets?
If I can open them.
Let's do a tap on the glass. Yum, 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 yum. I doubt very much that Chunks will take any of that.
You're going to be annoyed with you now.
He'll be annoyed for a couple of days. Look, he's going around the back. Right, I guess this is my home.
Sussing it out.
Right, it's the next day. First thing in the morning, I've come in and the first thing I can see is Chunks. He's all out in the foreground. Looks chill. Looky. Here he is. Right in the foreground. Colours, look at the colours. They look perfect. Fins looking great. And it's good news. All the other fish are good as well. And I was kind of worried he might dig, but that hasn't happened either. Look, all the plants are exactly where we left them. Trust him to take centre stage. This is my area. All the other fish are like, look, no, we've got a thing going on here. And he's like, nope, it's all mine. But if you're good, I will be good. I'm not sure why I'm talking for him, but look at that, what a beautiful shot. And just before I left the house, Kate said to me, as soon as you get there, if he's out, can you take a photo? And said, I just want to see that he's okay. I said, well, you'll see in the video. No, send it straight away, so I must do that. Okay, babes, one chunks photo coming up. There we go. Oh, it's a great shot as well. I'll get a far one so she can see the scale. Nice. So it's now been about 3 days of Chunks being in the tank, and I'm really pleased to say he's getting along so well. Like, he's eating, he's happy. It's right in the front. So yeah, I'll put in like, oh, these have nearly defrosted, but the outside has, oh, it's exploded in my hands. Bloodworms stink. Well, I've got 2 there, and then if I get the pipette, okay, so this just...
He likes a nice big...
I know he does, but that's not going to happen. Like, I'll try my best to try and suck up some bigger chunks of it. Chunks.
The only other thing you could do is get one of your tweezers.
Yeah, I could.
And lower one down towards him.
He's eating something.
He's eating the gravel. The sand, should I say. Right,
so I'm going to siphon this all up. Look.
No, he is... There's a load of bloodworms there that he's picking out.
Okay, so I've got loads now. I've got loads in the tube. If I come down... There you go, buddy. Look at that lot for you. Eh? I mean, I'm not too worried because it is a treat. Like, his pellets are mainly the thing that's grown him to this massive size. He's not even done growing yet, did you know? They get bigger than that.
He's huge.
Well, the angels will as well, but... Yeah, no, not too interested in that at the moment.
He's not happy about us filming him, I don't think.
He's just staring at us. Look. We've given you the food.
He's like, I'm not performing.
You know, look, that's what I mean. He's so clever. He just knows we're here. But there's some all around him. He'll go around and pick those off.
Let's leave him alone for a bit.
And quite often I find when I feed bloodworms to fish that don't usually have it, like all the tetras, like it entices breeding, and I don't know why. It just seems to. So yeah, Chunks is happy. We know he's doing well, settling in, and I'm really pleased with that because I was worried he was going to be grumpy for a long time. It lasted about half a day, and now he's completely loving it, which is what I would expect. I mean, it's a gorgeous tank for him. It's nice and big. It replicates his environment as well, to a degree. I mean, no tank's really going to do that, is it? Because there's not such a massive volume of water. But he does seem to be enjoying it, and we're enjoying him as well. So here's how the tank is looking right after filling up, quite misty. And then I added the fish a couple of days later when it cleared up. But the plants aren't really growing in. 1 month later, and you can see things are looking a lot better, a lot more interesting. There's getting some height on the plants. And then after 3 months, I was really, really pleased with the result and where we're at now. The difference between this scape and the one you saw at the beginning is I don't have to do anything to it. I've not trimmed any plants yet. I've just let them grow out. When they do need a trim, it's going to be nice and quick. It's kind of self-sustaining and just looks good all the time. The one previous required a lot of work to make it look sort of kept and in decent shape. Whereas this one I just think looks beautiful all the time. It's so good for the fish. So you might well be thinking, looks great. Where's Chunks? What's happened to him? Well, I've got some news for you. He is absolutely fine, just too clever for his own good. So I've cleaned the tank up before I did the final shots, you know, well, a glass scraping. I just took off any like nasty little bits that would have made the image look a bit horrible. And as a result, it's the first time I've cleaned the tank since he went in, and he did not like it. I think he thought he was being caught again, so he's hiding. Now, he has been out the whole time. Like, he's not worried at all. He's always in the foreground. He just really didn't like that cleaning scraper going in the tank, making a bit of noise. So he has got a little home here. It might be hard to pick him up on camera. Hang on. Hopefully you can just make out his eye there, look. He sits in this little log, which is completely hollow, and that's like become his home, because he can come in from this side as well, and he goes all the way around the back, and then he can shoot out there, and it's like become his little safe space. So that's nice. Hopefully I'll be able to get some shots before I have to release this video of him enjoying the whole space, because he looks so good in there nowadays. And in fact, let's give him some food, because I think that will work a treat then. He should come out for that. He's watching the whole time, and he knows what's going on. So if I put some food there, and then some nice sinking pellets as well. Good amount. He's just sat there staring at me right now. Come on, buddy, come and get your food. It's because Kate's not here. Whenever Kate's here, he's straight to the front of the glass. He's like, you don't feed me when I want. So yeah, good amount of food going in there, but remember, there is a lot of fish, and some of them are a lot bigger than others. We've also got a load of bottom feeders as well. Like, for instance, down here, we've got our
bronze Cory. There is stir-by as well, which I'm hoping to get to come out. I saw them just before I picked the camera up. Such a gorgeous fish. Oh, there we go. Come on then, Grumpy. You coming out now? Come and get some food. I'm just going to back off because I do want him to eat. So I'm just going to put the camera down a minute and hopefully he'll just come out like completely then. There we go. As soon as I backed off the tank and put it on the tripod here, I'm a lot further back than it looks like. He's not shy from me. Look, I'll go up to him now that he's out. And he's not bothered. It's just, it's like an initial thing. Okay, get your food. I'll put some more pellets in, I think, actually, just to make sure he gets some. Now that he's not being grumpy. I've got to clean the tank sometimes, you know. I know I don't do it often, but still. There we go, I put in some more. And he'd probably eat the ones I just put in by himself, but there will be stuff on the bottom that he's going to get. Well then, help yourself. Look, he's so gentle with all the other fish as well. Like some fish you see, like especially if they're bigger, they'll go charging in there, start ramming them all out of the way. But he's just a nice, chilled, good little boy. I think that's why Kate loves him so much. I love him too, don't get me wrong. It's just that Kate seems to think that like all pets are humans in a way. But he's a very, very good boy. Oh no, I'm doing it as well. I'm doing it. So I now invite you to watch some nice clips of the tank with me just shutting up. Really appreciate the beauty and simplicity of it all. Hope you've enjoyed it. Yeah, and just enjoy.